Good afternoon, and welcome to our third series in Power BI. And today we're going to talk about connecting to live data. Now, what do we mean by live data? It's the key information that you need to make decisions, and it's the up-to-date information. Now, your organization and your organizational needs may make a difference as to when you consider live data and how often you're going to refresh your data and get it up to date. Some of the things you need to be concerned about, though, is that you need to be aware of the balance between getting the data and having performance. You don't want to be getting data every 10 minutes and really taxing your systems. You want to make sure that you're balanced and you're not going to interrupt your day by doing refreshes and so on and so forth. Now, there's one way to get live data, and that is that Microsoft Power BI has what they call content packs. And content packs are pre-built data connectors, reports, and dashboards to several of the popular software as a service providers, such as Google Analytics, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, Salesforce, QuickBook, and many more. The list continues to grow. Microsoft has made the commitment that they're going to reach out to these services and make the connections and make it easy for you to use. So the question is, why would you use it? Well, they're simple, easy to use wizards. They guide you through connecting to the service. They pop up and you just enter in which service you're going to and your credentials and go from there. It's a great starting point to build on if you're already using one or more of the existing services. So with that, we'll switch over and show you. It's real simple. The content packs are only available right now within Power BI Online. So it's very simple. Once you log in, you'll click Get Data, and you click Services. And here's the list of all the services that they provide currently. So what we're going to do, so you just select which one you're going to do. So for example, Microsoft CRM, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, it tells you what it is, gives you an option to click Connect. And like I said, it's a simple menu, simple wizard that walks you through the process of connecting. Since this can take a little while, we'll just go ahead and jump into an existing connection. Like I said, it goes through and builds out your data set, your report, and your dashboard. So you get a dashboard just like this, and everything is tied to a report. And as you see, Microsoft has taken the initiative and have everything set up so that way, some of the standard reports that you would need and want to view are right in here and ready for you to go. And once you connect, it's very simple. It makes it you can interact with this. So for example, you can remove something from the dashboard, you can make changes, you can resize things. So, you want to see this one a little larger. You can just drag and move around, and full interactivity for your use. And now, as part of it also is you can use the natural language query. So for example, we can search for leads by owner. And it'll start to build out a visualization that you can use now. You can make changes to it. You can make it a pie chart, for example, change all the information on it. And I can go ahead and pin this to my dashboard. So we have the leads, and like I said, you can, full interactivity, so you can go ahead and move things around and make changes to the dashboard as you see fit. You can start using that information as a starting point. You're ready to go. Everything's nice and it's all built for you. But if you don't have one of those services in use and you have your own data that you want to use, you can do that too. You can use cloud-based data such as a file stored on OneDrive, Excel text file, CSV, some Azure based databases, or web pages. You can also use your on-premise data such as local files or SQL Server or Access. And so that way you don't have to make any changes to start using Power BI. You can use your existing systems and existing services and go with that. Now the nice thing is also that you'll notice there's also Oracle, IMDB2, MySQL and Sybase support. So you're not just limited to Microsoft-based SQL services. Now, there's a couple things to consider with the pricing and the data refresh. You can sign up for a free Power BI account, but you're limited to how often you can make a refresh and consuming that on-premise data. So what you need to do is have at least one or a few. You don't have to do everybody in your organization. Doesn't have to be signed up for the Power BI Pro. You just need a few small subset of users that'll be able to handle that refresh, setting up your reports, and making the connection. Now, one of the things that you need for your on-premise data is the Power BI Personal Gateway. It's a free tool that's provided by Microsoft. It makes the connection between Power BI Online and your on-premise data. It's a free download. You just go to the Power BI site and download, and it has this simple wizard that walks you through installing it. Now, as I said, not all of your users need to have the Personal Gateway installed, because obviously you're not going to want everybody to be making refreshes, setting up the schedule. Most likely, you're going to have somebody who's going to create one or several reports and share it throughout the organization to other users. So you just need to have that small subset install the gateway. And another thing to realize is that you have to install the Personal Gateway on a machine that's always connected. You don't want to have your administrator install it on their own machine and then shut it down for the weekend and take it home, and now that refresh does not happen. So to connect to a live data source, it's very simple. You just use your get data up here on the Power BI desktop. And as you can see, you can connect to a file or your databases, SQL Server, and like I said, all the other data sources such as Oracle and Postgre. So you're not, like I said, not limited to just Microsoft databases. So once you select a database, connect, it'll pop you through a wizard, and you'll import. You set all your credentials. You set the server, your database, and then it'll ask you for your credentials if it's necessary. Since that takes a little bit of time, and it can be, because what it'll do is we'll connect to the database, log you in, and then do a discovery process. Look through the database, find all your tables, all your views, and build out this interface here so that we can actually see everything that is within your database that you can use. Now, the nice thing is also they have a search function, so you can start typing, and it will look for, if it does a contain search. So it'll find everything that starts having customers in it. So you can select your database items that you want to include. You click on it, and it previews on your right, so you can make sure that you have the correct information, you got the correct table that you want to use, and you're ready to go. And once again, depending on the size of the table and the data, this will take a little bit of time to connect, so we're going to skip over that. But what it'll do is do a connect discovery on that, look at the table, see its relationships, and how it's structured, and the data. So, and then loads it into the model for your for use in Power BI desktop. So once it does that, imports it in, it brings in the whole table. Everything that's in the table or the view, you can see. So what you'll want to do is work on that data and get it to be a little bit less. You don't actually need everything for the reports you're using, for example. So in this case, we can remove some columns. And there's a couple ways you can do. You can click on it and right-click. You can click on the item, and you can come up here. We're actually going to edit the query to change what we're pulling in. So we're going to look at our customer table that we pulled in and drop a few fields off. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either click on it and remove columns and remove them one by one, or they have this option of saying choose column, which will open up this another wizard for you. You can see all the columns, and you can start selecting ones that you don't want to include, unchecking them as you go through. Now, another option you can do is you can also rename your columns, because these column name headings will show as you start using them to build your reports within in the Power BI desktop. So for example, this one here in our sales line items, we have location code from sales transactions. We don't really want to show that. We don't want to show that whole name on the reports. So it's really easy. You just say rename. Change the name, and it's ready to go. You can start using it. So once if you make changes to your tables, your queries, you also have to just remember to say close and apply. So what that'll do is it'll rebuild the model, and you're ready to start using it once it's ready to go. So now there's one thing. Now we have this table. We can start doing some stuff with it to make it a little more interesting, or make the data the way we want it. So for example, we're going to add a new column here. We're going to call it margin. And we can just start typing the name of the field that we want to use. And of course, you have to make sure you're in the right table, because we're not on the right table that I wanted to show you. So we're on customers. So it's very simple. You just come back here and you switch over to the sales line items table. And we're going to say new column. We're going to say margin. Standard price plus the extended cost. Click the check to apply it. That's where we have our margin. Now what we want to do is we'll actually format it, because we don't want it to be a number, it's actually an amount, currency amount. So we'll just say it's come into the formatting and say it's a US English currency, and we want to have precision of 2 decimal places. And it makes the adjustments, everything's good to go. So based off our data tables, we built a report that had a few different pages and has the information that we wanted to see to report off. Now, to be able to share this with your organization, all you simply do is say publish. Now, it'll publish out to whichever account you have signed in. So you need to make sure of whichever that you're signing to the right account if you have more than one. Most people don't, but they'll just have one. So we'll go ahead and sign in here. So you have a chance to open here, but I wanted to show you one thing. If you wanted to, you can also, from the file, sign in and sign out right on the menu of the Power BI desktop. So we'll switch over to the Power BI Online, and as you see, we now have GP data, which is our report from Power BI desktop that we published out. And anytime you make a new something, and you publish it out to the online service, you'll see this little asterisk here that shows, signifies that it's a new data source or new report. So come here, you can see everything is working as we expected. Now the question comes, how do you make sure everything is up to date? How do you do schedule refresh that way you actually get your live data? You get something that means something, and it's not just a snapshot from before. So it's very simple. You come into your data set and you click on the ellipses to open the menu, and you can see when it was last refreshed. Well, on this case, we had right now because we had just published it, and there's nothing scheduled, so it's not very helpful. What you could do, you could say refresh now, but that's not really make good business practice. You don't want to have somebody sitting there and say, hey, Bob, refresh now, and have them do that. So you want to make a scheduled refresh. So it's very simple. You just click on the option, and it takes you into the settings here. As you can see, there's a personal gateway set up. We have the settings here. It says it's online. If you didn't have that, you get a different menu. It would say, hey, you need to go ahead and set it up and have everything ready for you to go. Now, one thing is when you come into a fresh data set, you have to make sure to edit the credentials because it doesn't necessarily keep that. But it does know that we've connected to the server and which database we're connected to. And it gives you a couple of options for which authentication mode you want to use. So go ahead and sign in. Now the credentials are ready to go. And we go ahead and set the scheduled refresh. We go ahead and turn it on. And like I said, depending on your organization needs, it depends on how often you're going to set the refresh. But you have a chance of doing daily or weekly. So we're going to leave it daily. You set your time zone. And you can tell it when you want to refresh. So we're going to say we want to do a 2 a.m. refresh. And we want to make sure this is checked. Send the refresh failure notice email. That just sends a nice little email to you that say, hey, something went wrong in the refresh, didn't come up right, server's not up, or your personal gateway's not up, whatever the message is, gives you a little alert so that way you can make sure that you can follow through on it. Now the nice thing is you can also add up to at least 8 different times. And it's the same thing. You just select the time when you want to refresh it. So let's say we want to have it refresh twice a day. We'll go ahead and apply. And it says the schedule is up to date. You can see on your data set when the next refresh schedule is scheduled for. So let's go ahead and simulate that there was a change in the data. So we're going to run this refresh here, this update here. I'll jump back to our report. So as you can see, nothing had been changed. So what we can do is we can actually we can do a refresh on demand. So we'll go ahead and refresh the data source. I'll go ahead and refresh the report also. Just 6 minutes. Obviously, if larger the data set, the longer it take. So there you go. Now you see the days, they all changed, that this number is now 100 and everything else has been reflected down on your report. So now the nice thing is that once you deploy this report, you can have people use it. Since we have it in Power BI desktop, what we have now is we have the ability to come back in and make changes. So you get people that use the report and they say, no, we need this and this information. So we just come in here and edit, and on this section, we want to add our margin in. You can change the table. You can see it's been reflected as made changes. Now another thing we want to do is, let's say one of your users said that they didn't want to see the item class codes here that were blank. there's a couple of ways you can filter on it. You can do either page level filtering, and it's very simple. You just grab on here on the right, you just grab it over and drag it into your page level filter. And we can say we want to exclude these couple. And you're ready to go. And or you can, if you want to say you want to exclude it on the whole report, you can also do the same thing, drag over, do report level filtering on any of the columns that you're actually using. I'm going to say is not blank. Apply filters and apply across the whole report. Now the nice thing is, until you go ahead and publish this, it's not live. Nobody else can see it. So you have this option to sit here and you have a sort of a playground that you can make your changes, make sure the report's right, and then publish it out. You didn't affect anybody online, anybody who's live, and there's nothing you need to worry about that they're going to see it before it's ready or until it's ready. And obviously you can make a lot of changes. They've added a lot to the interface, so you can change how things are presented, color, how you want to show information. So it's just a matter of getting in there and playing with it. It's a very user-friendly interface, and most people who've used Word or some of the database tools will be able to get in there right away, start using it, and be very, very comfortable. So like I said, it's a very powerful tool and one that you can easily explore and get moving forward with in your organization.